Hello people, welcome to Aurora IAS lecture series on ethics, integrity and aptitude. Hope your preparation is going on a high mode. Let's start a beautiful topic on emotional intelligence on this note regarding the concepts, utilities, application in administration as well as the governance. This is a beautiful picture in helping you in understanding what emotional intelligence is all about. Emotional intelligence is nothing but on the left side you have a boss who is aggressive, who is egoistic, who is confrontational. He will be a very poor listener, passive, very stubborn, critical, picky and whatnot. On the right side you have a boss who is assertive, ambitious, decisive and then consistent, very good listener to your things. But there is a condition that this left boss will offer you 10 lakhs per annum package. This right wala boss will only give you 9 lakh per annum. So which job are you going to join? Obviously the right wala boss, because you know that in a long-term association with this kind of a boss for a social well-being at your organization workplace level is a better option. So this is actually about the emotional intelligence. This right wala boss had a very good emotional control. He can utilize it, he can understand it, he can assess his emotions. That is what emotional intelligence is all about. So the emotional intelligence is to assess, the identify and the control one's emotions. This term has been popularized by 1995 Daniel Goleman in his books of emotional intelligence. He says that person who can analyze and identify and control and manage his emotions and feelings effectively and properly, that is a single predictor of success. Like to a study he has conducted, he said that it is 85% of his prediction at success at workplace has identified emotional quotient to be a very important. Well, what is emotional quotient? It's a measure of the emotional intelligence. Just like you have IQ test to measure your normal basic understanding of the intelligence, the same way emotional quotient will measure your EI. It's a standardized test. How it is done in the later slides, we'll just see about it. And before going to the next slide, there's a beautiful quotation given by the Daniel Goleman. He says that what matters for success and a character and happiness of an individual is not about the cognitive abilities, but his lifelong achievements would depend upon his set of emotional skills. Well, the series will justify like why the Daniel Goleman has said this way. So there is a picture that differentiates between the IQ and EQ. IQ on the left side, if you see, it has a very intense functions, like you have intense focus, intense concentration, better comprehension skills, analytical, and you have an excellent memory. But all of these things only justify to one point, that you are self-oriented. It is your inner thing. This is only focusing on your inner self. Whereas on the right side, if you see this, there is an EQ element. The EQ element will make you understand that you are motivated to do something based on your empathy, social skills, regulation, self-regulation and self-awareness. The success of your any project, any kind of a task you take, or in the life or in a public and private balance of success of life, everything depends upon your EQ. This is overlapping. Although IQ is very, very important on the left side, the interjection of both IQ and EQ at success location is only majorly dominated by the emotional quotient. This is a beautiful picture where you can use these terminologies to write a very good answer on emotional intelligence. How do you think emotional intelligence will play a role in developing your personality? How do you think emotional intelligence will help you at an organization level? So this is what. If you have a low emotional intelligence, you will be slow, passive, unresponsive, critical, hard to please, perfectionist kind of an approach. Where you high emotional intelligence, people will have a decisive, assertive, ambitious and a very strong-willed personality. So the next slide shows that what are the signs of a low emotional intelligence. You won't listen to the other people. You think that you are a perfectionist, you are spotless, you are error free. All the decisions made by you are the right one. You will have an emotional outburst. Why you will shout on the other people, why you will be very happy at times, you will never understand, because it is a low emotional intelligence person. You will always blame others, you will never take the criticism of their others, and you will never change your decisions as per their view. You are very argumentative, you only lead, you don't decide on some grounds, you only argue on these grounds. For an employers who want kind of very social skillful people into their organization should have these 5 things. This is not just important for a private organization but also for a government level organization. First, you have to remain very calm under pressure. Suppose that we'll take an ideal situation like MG Narega program. So you are the project in charge head. You are being approached by some of the farmers or some of the laborers who work under this scheme. They come to you and say that they didn't get right amount of money or on time, or DBT transfers are not done. So the first thing, you have to remain calm under the pressure. You have to resolve this conflict effectively. You will call upon the other officials who are going to distribute the funds to these people. You will make a consensus building at that point of time. You will have you are empathetic to your colleagues. You just can't right away in front of them scold your colleagues like how can you do this and all that, because in a official manner or in a public office, you cannot have a bad terms with your colleagues. And next, you have a very important thing is that you lead by the example. You show them that the previous projects which were conducted under you have been successful, have been on time, and all the resolved conflicts have been resolved. So you assure them that you will lead this case with by an example approach, and you need not worry. You give an assurance to them. And last, you have in business decisions or in policy decisions, you are more giving consideration to it. So this is what is emotional intelligence is all about. You're not using the IQ. If you have high IQ, all the MG workers who have approached you will not be satisfied. You need to have the EQ. The next one is that Salovey and Mayer has termed this emotional intelligence concept. So according to them, they say that first you have to listen to them, you have to sensitize, understand the motivation, like the people coming from various backgrounds, understand their emotions, have an information beforehand, like how the dispersal of funds go into their account, and by what time should it reach, and what are the grievance redressal mechanisms and all that for this kind of an example. Okay, so and then you integrate all these situations into your own thinking. You have already a thought process, right? So the situation you're thinking has to be in a conjunction, and then use a very informed decision making, be a rational decision making in the purview of the law. Resolve the conflict. There are two types of emotions. One is positive, one is negative. Positive emotions are very pleasant and rewarding, like love, satisfaction, contentment, amusement and all. Whereas negative emotions are very unpleasant, because fear, anger, disgust, sadness, the moment I tell you these here to this negative emotions, you already feel kind of awe in your face, right? So next one is that there are two aspects of emotional intelligence. The one is interpersonal. The word itself will tell you understanding the emotions within yourself, your goal, intentions and responses and behavior towards an issue. So in this condition, you will manage your own stress level, you will be tolerant toward the other people, you will self-regulate yourself. Whereas the other thing is that intrapersonal, which is very important for a civil servant. The intrapersonal intelligence will give you the empathy and the social skills to understand the feelings of others by picking up what they are going through, the emotional turmoil they are going through. You will assess it, you will understand it, and you will integrate with your thinking, be sensitive to their issues, and then come out with a very good decision making. So these two are the aspects of emotional intelligence. And for any good leaders, for good team players, in our own cricket team itself, you can see this emotional quotient plays a very important role. You have always seen in the news itself, like issues with the team players have resulted into a great intrapersonal relations have been spoiled, destructive level. So this emotional quotient intelligence we have to measure through the emotional quotient formula. How is it emotional quotient done? In the next slides we'll be dealing with some of the examples like emotional intelligence, how this played a very important role to bring out the great leaders as the team players. So one is Abraham Lincoln, who has given the black rights movement that revolutionized whole of the USA. Nelson Mandela's anti-apartheid, Louis Braille invention on Braille mission. This will bring revolution as well as innovation. Both the things are a byproduct of the emotional intelligent people. But this emotional intelligence is not an overnight capsule that you just swallow it and you will be emotionally intelligent, successful leader. It's a lifelong process. It is during childhood that role modeling, parenting, better goal setting, realistic goal setting by the parents given to your children will enhance as he crosses every stage of his life. This is an evolution process. The next one is that the key elements of the emotional intelligence. There are 4 elements. One is that in the self, like interpersonal level, you will be self-aware and self-managing it. The next, in the social level, you will be aware of the facts, and you will have a good social skills. The one example I am taking here is a very prominent personality, that of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He says that we are well knit by the bonds of the blood, so it is better to make laws by sitting together as friends than as aliens. He understood that collectivism, taking the criticism from the other community as well, consolidating all the Indian states, were his only goal. So what he did, he had a very good management of relationships and building the networks among all the rulers of the princely states and all the states. He had a very good social awareness, like what is important for the consolidation of the states, a right strategy, a right mixing of army and the government officials. So at social level, he was a very successful person. That is why today India stands united. And on the other side, the self portion has self-awareness and self-management. Self-awareness is you have to recognize at least what people are thinking about. You are in a right kind of riot or a strike is going on in your district. You just can't go there and right away fire cannons on them, or water bullets, or any kind of a thing activity will only make the situation more worse. You first have to be aware, like what are they asking you. The recent issue going about on the doctor strike regarding the NEET issue, the next kind of an exam their government is planning. So as a deputy superintendent of police of your locality, you need to understand first, like what is the issue about, or understand the doctor's emotions, because although you're a public official, you need to have a balanced approach between the both parties, right? There is another element of self-management. Self-management is nothing but regulation. How do you regulate it? You regulate it by having the control over your emotions. You will take a very good judgment at the right point of time. Before acting or before behaving anything, you will first think and only then act. That is the actual quality of a personality or a leadership. So this is a very important slide, friends. This is about key elements of the emotional intelligence given by the David and Coleman. The next one would be like all these 4 things you have seen, right? There is social awareness, there is awareness, management, and social skills. So what are the benefits of being socially aware? Is you will be emotionally self-awareness also increases. You understand what your dislikes or likes, or what are your positive emotions or negative emotions. You can manage on all of that for a better achievement orientation, for a better positive outlook towards a life or an issue, for a emotional self-control. Then with having social awareness towards the problems and understanding them, you will have good empathy skills, as well as the organizational awareness increases when the boss knows about the workers or the staff problems and their conditions, personal things, and their working tendencies and everything. Only then an organizational awareness can build a very good social awareness, creating a better workplace. And then this relationship management, you'll be able to influence these people, persuade them towards a goal setting or towards an accomplishment of task as a coach or a mentor to them, by resolving the conflicts by a teamwork approach, for an inspirational and leadership approach. Through this, having a relationship management with your subordinates or people around you. The next one would deal with the branches of EI. EI has some branches. The next slide explains it in a better way. First one is that the perception. Perception is you perceive and express the emotions. Emotions are sensed. You will understand the automatic influences on your thought process. Next is facilitation. How do you facilitate? By having signals like that influence your cognition. Like, okay, they have come towards the old woman has come with her documents. She needs the money. It's an urgency of her old age that she need to survive through the medicines and some daily food. So that is what it will facilitate your thinking process. You perceive the emotions, you will facilitate it, you will understand the relationships between all these things, and finally you will manage it through a proper decision making or a process where you can call your subordinate office or the relevant officer in charge of making a ration card or some Aadhaar card for her to resolve her conflicts. So this is what emotional intelligence branches cater to. So first is perceive the emotion, which is non-verbal expression. You understand, you study the emotions in your cognitive process, you facilitate them through a rational thinking. You understand the emotion. For survival of the species, understanding emotion is a very important thing. When two dogs converse or two elephants converse, there are no words, they only converse through signals. That is what understanding emotion is all about. They need not be verbal itself, they can be non-verbal emotions also. And then managing emotions by depending upon the situation, you regulate them. It's not that if you are a deputy SP and the doctors are striking at some point of a government college or government hospital, and how to react to the situation and act on the situation only depends upon the managing these emotions. And the next one is that how to develop the emotional intelligence leadership. We have talked about like all the elements, like, but how do we inculcate all these things? Now you're all grown-ups, you're no more children, so that your parenting or the role modeling, all these kind of techniques will help you. Now you are at a stage where you have to have a resilience to change. You have to change yourself in accordance to the situation where you can bring us social prosperity in the society. So how is it happening? You need to have a first self-regard. You need to understand your own strengths and weaknesses. Having good knowledge and effectively balancing your confidence and arrogance is a very important thing. That is where you draw a line and make your self-regard as a very important principle. Then you will be very optimistic towards life and attributes that create happiness around you and within you also. And happiness is another optimism that attracts people. So we are only happy when we have pleasant people around us. So be one of the person, like a pleasant person, so that others will like you and they'll be happy to have you always in their company. So the next one is, for better emotional intelligence, there are two important things. You need to have the maturity of being self-aware, like you know what your positive things or the negative emotions are. Only then you will be flexible at locations to analyze it and use it at the situation. Whereas you have to always be sensitive to it. Any kind of a emotional turmoil, you need to understand till where the depth has sunk in. How future consequences can be if you don't resolve it right now, how it can be resolved. All these kinds of things only when you are sensitive. You sensitize the issue. That is important. Just like your sense organs, you know that you are allergic to a citrus fruit, then you will not. The moment you taste some sour taste, you will just stop eating that food or vegetable because you sense it. The same way you sense the other people's feelings, like people living in slums, what kind of a conditions, if they're coming with a proposal to build a common toilet in their locality or bathrooms in their locality, you understand that. Only when you understand, you will be able to disperse the funds and see a proper conflict or a kind of a need has been resolved to the people. At the organization level, emotional intelligence can be developed by assessing the organization needs, assessing the individual and managing their expectations. The need of the employer and the employees is that the employer has to understand the needs of the employees, what they want, the bonus or the extra working times, extra payment has to be given. What is the importance? Okay, then you have to have a learning choice through training by sensitized training, relaxation training, cognitive restricting techniques. All these kind of a trainings where you can improve upon the kind of a relationship you have with your employees. Then you have to encourage this participation of the people, link their goals and personal values, like giving dedication. In a dedication to a relationship is the same as a dedication to your goals at the office for accomplishment of task. The readiness and the motivation for the emotional quotient. At the individual levels also, you have to use a lot of humor and plays to relieve your stress at individual levels, as well as incorporate your emotions while decision making. Not just a rational decision making doesn't mean that you are keeping emotions out of the bound. Just like Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel said that we have to be making laws as friends, not as aliens. This is very important emotion that lies in its statement. And you have to recognize and pay attention to all the emotions. At the individual level and at organization level, you can do both of the things. The next one is, what is the importance? Why should we do an emotional intelligence? Is it for the social prosperity? What will I get with the social prosperity also? Because you are a social animal. The definition itself is man is a social animal. For a social animal to sustain, you need to have a very good social building of this managing and building of the social relationships. And how is it possible? One is that being emotionally aware. Vinoba Bhave's individual satyagrahi movement is a very good example for an emotional awareness. He understood what is important at that point of a time. During the phase of individual satyagrahi in 1940s, this movement has redefined the next level of quit India movement or the subsequent India gaining independence. So this is being aware, so emotionally is important. That is where emotional intelligence importance plays a significant role. Then self-regulate, adapt to the situations and change yourself. Conscious effort has to be made so that better building of relationships or management of the relationships happen. There is innovation also. Now innovation can only happen when perceived emotions. There is an example like the camera person who has invented the camera actually got the idea by his daughter itself, from his daughter itself. Like the daughter has said that father, how do we capture the today's moments so that later part of time I have to see my childhood, my happiness with you people and all that. So this triggered a feeling of like something to be invented for his daughter's pleasure or the happiness. That is where the camera has been invented. So the same way, the innovation in any sector, innovation at the social level, technical level, international level, any level, is only through this perceived emotions. When they are internalized, personalized, only then some kind of an innovation happens. So here I have given an example of Kailash Satyarthi. He has been instrumental in curbing the child trafficking issues only because he understood, he had this emotional connect with the people. If you read through any of his articles or any of his speeches, if you hear it, you will understand like how much he feels so connected to people, especially the children and their vulnerability. And there is commitment. The emotional intelligence will give you the commitment, just like the ISRO has launched the MOM mission or the recent Chandrayaan 2 mission, which very few countries, very few developed nations have done it. We are doing it right now. That is the commitment of the organization. It might have failed for the first time, but for the second time they have been so rigorous in their efforts that commitment, dedication was shown through it. Empathy is Mother Teresa. There is nobody else like Mother Teresa who can understand the pain of the leprosy patients or the needy patients whom she served, and she had a sensitive to their feelings and emotions. Then communicate with a clear and convincing messages so as to have a good persuasion techniques. Communication, politicians are the very best example. They can influence your ideologies, political ideologies. This can strengthen you, can deepen it, or can even weaken it. That is a level of communication. So importance of emotional intelligence in communication is a very important thing. And then comes the collaboration and cooperation among a team at an organization level, at a workplace level. This is a very important thing. Then conflict management. Tense situations will be there, just like a diplomatic solutions between India, Pakistan, India, China. The emotional intelligence component is a very important thing. Influence. Persuade the building consensus and support on developmental strategies. You have to influence them, just like politicians do, or you as a panchayat secretary or a deputy superintendent of police. If you go into the rural background where khap panchayats are very, very prominent, how do you do it? You just can't go by the authority. You have to influence people, show them the example, show them the modernity principles, how people have developed and what is the importance of the development, and leaving behind the irrational things. So this is all the importance of the emotional intelligence. Then comes how it is important concept in governance portion. Governance is nothing but it is a very strong pillar where the people have to utilize the services of the government through the public service delivery. So the effective and efficient governance is only possible where the trust deficit between the government and the people is resolved, and you are going to be a civil servant in the future, and you form a very basic role, very important yet basic, and a mediator modulating role that you have to render the public service delivery to the people. How is it done? A very good decision making, leadership and teamwork improvement, as well as the timely and quality of delivery of service with a fair and just and distribution of goods and services. For the example, like I'll tell you, it's not about governance, but from the government sector itself. I have been looking at some newspaper articles. I've just found this very good example very recently, that in Andhra Pradesh, what happened was, there's a school in one district where the children were not turning up for the attendance after the summer vacation. So the headmaster has understood like what is going on, what's the issue. He has talked to few parents and few students. They have told that the commuting from their place to the school is becoming difficult because the road is not proper, and there are no autos or rickshaws or any other kind of an transport facility. So what this headmaster has done is he has pooled with the other lecturers and the school teaching staff some money, and they have hired an auto person saying that we'll give you per month 5,000 rupees. There are like this 5,000 rupees is like for 2, 3, 4 autos. You have to just bring the students, leave to the school, and get them back from school to home after the school hour finishes. So this is a very brilliant example. Why did this headmaster do? You think he has this target setting that people have to turn up only, then they'll get the funds and all that. In spite of not doing all these things also, he'll anyway get this monthly salary, right, from the government. The only thing the headmaster had is he had this emotional intelligence towards the issue. He understood the emotions of the people. Because of the commuting difficulties, he understood, and he had laid this very brilliant innovation technique. The innovation, that is what innovation, or the kind of implementation of the policies, no matter whichever sector you belong to or you're going to work for, this emotional intelligence plays a very important role. Next, the example, I've already told you that emotional quotient is the measurement tool for emotional intelligence. How is it measured? Now see, people who have been through any of the railway exams to the last level will understand this. They have these like to reduce the number of train accidents, Indian Railways always conducts this emotional quotient test, like the psychological test ability. In this, they try to evaluate the self-perception, like respecting oneself, self-improvement, and understanding the emotions. These kind of techniques through the test. There is a self-expression where the communicating the feelings and free from emotional dependency, because train accidents are very vulnerable. There are some situations like the track is out of order, or there is some tree or an animal coming in between. You have to make quick decisions. You have to divert the train or stop the train or whatever it is. It all depends upon your strong emotions. The arousal of emotions at that point of time is really high, where you have to control them. You have to make a rational decision, and then have a good interpersonal relationship, satisfying each other at the colleagues level. So this is what they test through their EQ quotient test. Okay. And then we have civil services also. First, we have seen the governance portion, what you can do for a very good emotional intelligence development. Now we see in the civil services. Why is it important in civil services? Is like, first, that policies targeting should be a better. You have to acquaint with the social kind of a life people having, and how this policy implementation at a place can influence their lives to a great extent. Then motivate your subordinates to do the work. In crisis of like flood situation or an earthquake or any kind of natural or man-made disasters, no matter what, the person relatable to the civil services should be able to manage the stress at that point of time among his colleagues and within himself, to help others maintain the kind of implementation success. Making it successful at the ground level is only possible through this person. So this person should always go for a change. He has to take new things, risk, and face new challenges without any fear. He has to make a very good decision making. No matter what the final result would be, his decision making should always be a social well-being within the purview of the law. He has to better communicate with all the people for a better policies kind of effectiveness on the ground, as well as maintaining the balance of life. His personal and the professional life both has to be balanced. This is a very important issue. The recent example, like a Patna IAS officer has come to Delhi at the Faridabad railway station. He had committed suicide and all this. This shows that emotional intelligence, how it is lacking in a person who has done very exceptionally well in his professional life, but in private life he couldn't sustain the pressure because of his mother and wife. So this shows a very bad example, in fact, but if very important, how the emotional intelligence will play a role through the recent examples. This will be able to make you understand. On the personal front itself, you have to be flexible, empathetic, and clear of your expression. And then in the last you have these examples like for the civil services, especially civil services. There is an IPS Shivdev Lande. He has done for the people and society a lot. He has been doing a lot, and you can just Google him, Google things about him. He's a very good influential personality. There's a Nagaland IAS officer also, Armstrong. He has built a road which was very undulating terrain, and it is not accessible itself for the people to commute here and there. So he has done it. So out of the bound, it was out of the bound. He need not do all of those things. He can still happily go for the 2-3 years of a period and just get out of the village. But still they felt the emotions of the people that they need something, and they have to do from the government end, from their public functionary, as public functionaries, from their end to these people need. This is all what the emotional intelligence component plays an important role for the civil services. You have various advantages for developing emotional intelligence also, because you will have a very good improved relationship where your public and private life will be balanced. Integrity, you will act with an integrity. What you say and what you do will be in congruence. You will reduce the stress levels. Career prospects will be improved. At the organization level, at the workplace, you will have a very good rapport with your boss, and you will accomplish the task on time and gain a lot of confidence from the boss also. You have an improved communication, feeling confident and positive, respecting others, empathy skills. You learn from the mistakes, you adapt to the situations, you change yourself, and you come out of a renewed total personality. And then you have a lot of creativity where innovation you can build it on, and managing the change is very more confidently by taking the risk and new challenges without any fear. That is it for the advantages of being emotionally intelligently aware. So this is the last slide of this session, which will give you a crux of what we are talking about. One is that you have to be self-aware, empathy, agree instead of arguing, act instead of reacting. You should be a non-complainer and non-blamer to become a leader, very good leader, having a great influential role. And then you have to be patient, self-controlled, as well as social presence has to be a very joyful mode. People around you should make you feel that you have to stay back as an officer in our district, we will not let you go. That is where the success of an officer lies in, not just completing your tenure on time or doing all the policies on time, but this is where the social presence, the people should feel that losing you is losing something more than that. So that is the important thing in this virtual world. The social connect is a very important thing, people. You need to understand it, and you can always end your answer with a beautiful line that emotional intelligence is not a positive or a negative thing, but it can only facilitate your interpersonal behaviors for achieving your goals. That is it. So the next slide would be about the answer writing questions for this session. The session 3 questions I'll be dealing here is you can write down the answers in the comment section. I'll be modifying it. So the first question is, how can emotional intelligence help in the working of an organization, which we've already read through the previous slides, right? Then the next question is, can emotional intelligence be parted through training? Can it be parted? You have to answer it. And then what is interpersonal emotional intelligence with some examples. The examples have to be from your own life or around your own surroundings. You observe many people and how your friends have been with you, behaving with you, like at situations there have been very intense moments among your friends, like they have heated arguments on a very small issues, you not turning up for the party or not for a movie, and how they have been argumenting the issues. So all these kind of small examples, give it up, write up a 150 word answer for a 10 marker for this question. And then we have previous year's questions. All these questions you can very well answer with the previous explanations which I've shown you through this chapter. In 2013, one is emotional intelligence definition and how can it help individual in taking ethical decisions. 2014, a widespread trust deficit is happening. So what is important for a personal and a societal well-being? 2015, trustworthiness, again, fortitude is to have the kind of a liking or a kind of a bond you share with the people, so that to get improved, manifested in your public service, what what else can you do? That is a question in 2015. In 2016, we have another question on anger as a harmful negative emotion. You have many examples in your own life. As a child, you have had fights with your friends. As an adult, you have fight with your father regarding your career option. You wanted to do something else and they wanted you to do something else. So that kind of an example you can give. As well as now, if you're staying in your PGs are like the hotspots of the arguments. So anger mood you can always show, like telling your example of what has happened in your room, at your rooms, or at your libraries for a seat or any other issues. So relate very basic examples, but yet another's important, because you will be able to relate yourself and a presentation of answer would be better. And the last one in 2017, where you can apply the emotional intelligence in the administrative factors, which was already dealt in all the questions. So that is a thing. Brief recap of what we have done through all these slides. One, that we have seen how important is intelligence and low intelligence and high emotional intelligence, the difference, IQ and EQ. Then we have understood the type of emotions, the aspects of emotional intelligence, how we measure it, the key elements, 4 key elements: awareness, social awareness, self-management, social skills. This is a very important thing you have to write in any answer, even if it is asked or not, because this 4 things, management is the only right answer for any kind of question on emotional intelligence. Then we have what are the benefits of managing all these 4 aspects, elements of emotional intelligence. Then we have branches of emotional intelligence, how you should approach to a situation, being an officer, being at a workplace, or any other level. Then we have this organizational or individual level, how you can develop your emotional intelligence, what is the importance, how you get rewarded by being emotionally intelligent. Then in governance portion, as well as the civil services terrain, and then we have this advantages of being emotional intelligence, and last, a crux of all the chapter in one slide with a line you can end it on. So this is it for the emotional intelligence portion. Hope you got a very good idea about this topic, and you can write a 150-word answer very easily, and with the kind of content, very simple content, and very good examples from your day-to-day life. I hope you like this session. Give a thumbs up to this video if you liked it, and do comment on your feedback on this series, or what all series you are intending to get from us, as well as any other queries or any kind of suggestions to be mentioned in the comment below. Subscribe to the channel Aurora IAS. You can always follow us on Aurora IAS on Telegram channel, as well as on the website www.aurorais.com. So stay blessed and always be happy. Keep learning. Happy studying. Jai Hind.